Hello guys, and welcome to a new WARNO video today by me, Vulcan. In this one I have for you a 4 versus 4 on Twin Cities, and I'm going to be playing with Berliner Gruppierung. This division was absolutely annihilated in the latest patch, so much so that Eugen is thinking of ways to buff it again. If you check out the latest community dev blog, they stated how they're going to be adding some more stuff to this division because it got absolutely gutted. However, is it really that bad? Now, this game really shows that Berliner Gruppierung can still go the length of a game. Now, that being said, this might have been a bit of an anomaly. I'm not entirely sure. Either way, fantastic game, and that's why I wanted to share it with you guys today. Let's have a look at what we're getting down. We've got some Wachaufklärer moving ahead. We still have the Wachschützen, thankfully, in the Berliner Gruppierung, which gives us some quality in our infantry. We do have Modschützen as well. We've got some Modschützen Metis at the start here. Blaureich Streller 2Ms. You can get Modschützen squads with Strellas, but they are more expensive than the single manpad squads. That's why I have the manpads kind of sprinkled in. And then I'm following it up with a bunch of T-34-85s. Now, this division in the tank tab kind of sort of leans you towards using T-55As, but I've opted to go for 2 cards of T-34-85s in this case because I feel like they're actually really cost efficient against infantry. They have a main gun, 2 machine guns, 6 front armor, 3 side armor. And if you can keep them at range, they can do some serious DPS to things like these arrow rifles, for example, that don't have long range AT to fire back. Either way, here we go as the action gets underway. The first Phantom 2 bombing strike coming in and actually missing the mark in this case. The Wachaufklärer surviving that, and the Modschützen Metis staying in their SPW-70 long enough to avoid any damage. Got the Streller 2M firing away at the OH-58. I'm not sure when it was introduced, but there's a new sound for the Streller 2Ms, or the Strellers in general, and they sound absolutely awesome when they fire. Really cool. You get like that high-pitched squeak, which is really awesome. Anyway, arrow rifles under attack by the combination of the SPW-70, the Wachaufklärer, and the Modschützen. SPW-70s worth keeping alive due to the KPPT and the PKT combination. It's similar to having the 2 machine guns on the T-34. It just puts out a lot of DPS at range onto enemy infantry squads and can greatly support yourself against enemy infantry that don't have long range AT. The T-34 is starting to fire away. We have an ITO on the right that needs to be dealt with. Now, this is an 80-point HDGM. My tanks cost 35 points. So it's going to kill at least 3 in order to be cost efficient. Whereas we've only got to kill that 1 low health squad. And immediately, at least 2 of these T-34s are paid off. Rockets flying overhead already. And that's because Berliner Gruppierung, I've set it up to basically use one strategy, and that is HE rocket spam. These RM70s are an absolute savior when it comes to this division, and if utilized correctly can severely hamper the enemy and pin down larger enemy targets whilst you rush them down with your overwhelming numbers. So arrow rifles going to be picked off there nice and quick. More rocket artillery coming in to help pin down the arrow rifles here. You'll also notice that I am trying to preserve my troops as best I can, trying to get the Modschützen Metis back so that I can bring them up to full strength once again. Now check this out, we got 5 T-34s plus the SPW-70 on target. The arrow rifle's getting absolutely melted by the amount of machine guns there. And those arrow rifles, they're not too cheap either. That's another, 2 T-34s worth of infantry getting killed off. And that's where these T-34s can really start to shine. If you bring them in blobs like no less than 5, you can really overwhelm targets. Like these Bradleys, for example, 85 points for an M2A2 Bradley. And yes, they can absolutely tear a new one through these T-34s. But if you manage to get enough on target at the same time, the Bradleys will go down pretty quickly. In this case, the M1A1 coming out of the woodwork, so the T-34s are going to have to disperse, as we have now lost 5 of them in a very short amount of time. But more rocket artillery now coming in. Another 2 strikes landing on this location, absolutely hammering the reinforcements of Go to Sleep. Phantom 2 did unfortunately finish off my Aufkladder, but the rocket artillery coming in here certainly dealing a lot of damage. Gonna hold back Go to Sleep for the time being. Meanwhile, on the left, I have managed to sneak forwards the Mutschützen Metis and the Aufkladder to see if we can find some ground here. T-34 and SBW-70 supporting there is very nice indeed. So I've now got all 4 of my RM-70s in already, and getting these on the field ASAP is really, really important. We've got the next train of T-34-85s on the way as well, so we can overwhelm enemy armor. And then we have the T-34 trying to get a shot on target. They aren't the most accurate. They do only have 40% accuracy. You can, of course, put a leader by them. Although I'm not sure because of their trait, you can actually upvet them at all. Just take more suppression in combat due to reservists. So technically you could put a leader by them, give them a little bit of an extra accuracy. O2, trying to have a go. Another expensive unit here. 100 points. Means it would have to kill 4 T-34-85s in order to be cost efficient, which is kind of crazy when you think about it. Whilst these T-34s could absolutely chew that TOW2 if it weren't for the M1A1 Abrams. Now, heavy tanks are going to be the bane of your existence when it comes to using this division, but as long as you have enough of these Mutschützen Metis hanging around, you're going to be getting good value. You see the M2A2 there getting popped, and that's going to pay off at least one of those squads. So that's where you've got to kind of think about the mentality of this division. But in the Gruppierung, it's very much like one of those divisions that I played in the past as like a super spam division, and with the T-34s and everything included. But now it's even more so like that, where you kind of you're forced into that kind of playstyle. You have the rocket artillery to help you suppress enemy targets, but at the end of the day, it really comes down to the sheer amount of forces that you're putting onto your opponent. So this M1A1, 2 RM70s, going to absolutely smash it to pieces. And down it goes. So that's how you're dealing with it. You know, this is 2 210-point rocket artillery units killing a 250-point tank. And if your opponent is sleeping, then you can catch them out. And now with that M1A1 down, you can see that I'm giving an attack order to move straight through this tree line. A couple more reinforcements have now arrived though. More arrow rifles landing in line of sight of the Aufkladder and Mutschützen. The nice thing about the situation is both of these squads can use all of their rifles. The Wachschützen have the STG, and I believe it does slightly more damage than AK-74s. So over time, you're going to be getting some pretty good DPS above your standard troops. But I've got to be careful, of course, like the Black Hawks are hanging around, providing machine gun fire support. The tanks there, of course, as well. But this is another example where the Bradley's in a bad spot. It's got to kill at least 2 to be cost efficient, I think. And it has just about managed to do that. But one more shot, and we take that out. M1A1's a little bit of a problem for us here. On the right-hand side, at least, we managed to shoot down one of the AH-1F Cobras. That's good. T-34's having a real hard time. Going to try and get them into cover as quickly as possible, and instead use these T-34s to engage infantry where I can. This is really where another rocket strike will be needed ASAP. The one thing you might notice in the back line here, Endymion has found my rocket groups, my rocket launchers, with his lav. Now this is a big problem, and something that ND's been doing to me a lot recently. These lavs are new to the 82nd Airborne, and they're wheeled vehicles with the Bushmaster cannon on them, and that's actually very, very difficult to deal with, because what it means is they're super fast and they have good firepower, and they're able to sneak behind enemy lines because they currently have extra stealth as well, which I think is unintentional. So yeah, they can sneak past your lines, get into the back line, and absolutely wreak havoc. Now, I managed to keep 2 of my RM70s alive, so that's nice, but 2 of them have died. And where this division is almost entirely reliant on those rockets to deal with heavy targets, that's real bad news for me. But as you can see, my concentration of units, even after this bombing strike, is very high along the front here. And that's meaning that I have a lot of avenues of attack onto enemy forces. So he's trying to push forwards. I've got Conkers in here. I've got obviously the Butchers and Metis. And anytime like a single tank worth 250 points is coming in, I've got my units kind of split out more wide. And therefore, it's kind of making it difficult for him to move in, even though my units overall are much inferior. T813s have come in to provide some supply for my units. I'm trying to, again, keep units alive. Any units that do get low, I'm bringing them back, getting them back to full strength. M1A1 Abrams does get popped by the ATGM, so that was a really good kill for us. And now again, the T813 are going to be meeting that Mochus and Metis over on the left-hand side there to provide more ammo and men. So now Cub's going to be joining me, as I do need to shut down the air attacks that keep coming in. Seen those bombing strikes be used to pretty great effect. Those Phantoms are being cost efficient for him right now in taking out multiple infantry squads along the way. Conker's looking for the chaparral, not going to find it this time around. Getting to a point now where I'm almost able to cover this road. My Wachaufklarer have managed to get up into this position, and that means that I can likely get 80 gems up here as well. And if I get 80 gems into this position, then we can cover this road. Now I of course need to be careful of my right flank here, which could very easily sort of sweep into my location. He wouldn't want to do that with his helicopters because I have a lot of man-pads, but these tanks would certainly rip a hole through the side of my defences, as that is 2 M1A1 HAs and an M1A1 Abrams. It's like he's struggling to be confident to push forwards. It is a bit risky because if he does bump into one of these infantry units before he spots them, then the AT weapon will lower the cohesion of those forces very, very quickly indeed. Black Hawks landing even more reinforcements on the backside over there. We also see the EH-60A being used here. Now this is a recon helicopter, but more than that, it has the jammer effect. I don't think I've discussed the jammer effect yet. It's not something that we see too often because there aren't many divisions that have them. But basically what it does is it downgrades the optics of enemy recon within the area, and it also cancels corrected shot of artillery. So it's a pretty strong effect, and if you have them in the right position, you can see that it can affect quite a broad range of units without being sort of in trouble itself. You can also land them and they still provide the jammer effect, so in this case you could probably drive it forwards and land it right here. I wouldn't be able to see it at all, and it would be providing the jammer effect against my artillery. Now thankfully, because I'm using rocket artillery, corrected shot's not so much an issue, and also in this situation most of my recon is just my standard infantry, so it's not necessarily doing too much in this situation. But you can see I have finally moved up Conkers on the right hand side, and it has already given me an M1A1 kill, so nice flanking movements there has already paid off. I'm starting to get the better of his infantry on the left hand side, so far so good. And what seemed to be like an overly nerfed division is actually winning over the 3rd US, which I would deem to be a relatively good division. So take out the command, and that's going to be the sector secure on this left hand side. Phantom 2 coming in there will take out one of the Conkers, hoping to finish that off. Taki's MiG-23s that were diving for the Apache actually managed to kill that on the way through, so that worked out quite nicely. Although one of those MiGs going to be going down. was trying to put the camera in the right position for that to come through then. That would have been awesome. But either way, the Cubs are going to be trying to get involved. Managed to hit one of the missiles, so that was nice. Just a quick reminder, always move your Cubs or long-range AA after it fires, because it will come under artillery fire. But go to sleep. He's trying to retreat with the remainder of his air rifles, and they're just going to run into the machine gun fire of the SPW-70s, so they get taken out nice and quickly. So it's worked out. We've managed to push through pretty efficiently, I would say. I've got my band of TO-55s coming in to help out, and they are going to be, again, another unit that's pretty good at taking on enemy infantry, mainly because of the flames, and also they have a Dushka on them, so that's pretty cool. I'm trying to get this T-813 close enough that the Mudschütze Metis doesn't have to run too far away from the fire team, but unfortunately didn't manage to escape. So, yeah, we are managing to get the +1 going, which is fantastic. And now it's a matter of kind of either helping elsewhere or continuing to push. Now, continuing to push across the open here is not really a good idea for a division that doesn't have much heavy armor, but I can certainly use my rockets elsewhere, so that's what I'm going to be trying to do. I noticed that there was a bunch of tanks sitting back here, and if I can put the pain into Guerrilla, maybe Taki can have a bit better time with his T-80BVs. I've also got 2 Su-24s waiting to pounce on the M1A1HAs, but as they now come out, it's going to be a really, really nice cluster. Oh, look at that. Juicy, juicy damage. Massive hits. Take out one of the tanks on the right, one on the left. The rest are severely damaged and limping away. The T-80BVs have the chance to pounce and maybe take out 1 or 2 more. Once they get into cover, though, it's going to be difficult for the T-80s to engage efficiently, because the tree line will kind of make it easier for Guerrilla to pounce. But yeah, big chance now for Taki to move in after that airstrike. Absolutely huge. The Su-22s did really well. So, more Mudschütze Metis on the front here with the SPW-152K. Nothing the fire team can do against the SPW at this range, because the Dragon 2 has a minimum range of 300 meters, as do all ATGMs. So, take them out. And the left side's looking pretty secure. Also, with my HE attack on the back side, I've managed to damage some units that were further back, I believe. I'm just kind of looking to see if I can do some more damage to the M1A ones here. But ultimately, it's time for me to come in on the side here and flank in to help Taki get a good position. So I'm going to be sweeping through with the T-34-85s, backing them up with the TO-55s. Those should be able to get the flames on target as well. Look at that. Very cool. Engineers really not going to last long. Mi-8TV, just to add insult to injury. A huge breakthrough here. T-80BVs trying to get on top of the M1A1HAs, but they were repaired just enough for the HAs to not be affected by the push through of Taki. Mi-8TV struggling a little bit, but here come my Su-22s for another strike. There goes one M1A1HA, and I'm hoping that I caught the second one, because if I did, that was a very nice couple of kills. F-15 flying overhead on the left-hand side, dropping some napalm. Well, right-hand side, I should say. Dropping napalm onto the town. But F-15 did get taken down and all that, so really, really nice. The breakthrough of the tanks continues, led by the Avtara BRM-1. That is providing exceptional optics. Really, really useful. Take out the infantry in the Humvee there. Or the Jeep, sorry. Before it unloads. Now the machine gun's trying to take down the OH-58. If that hangs around, it will go down. So, really, really nicely done. Now I'm noticing the Apache, which have nothing to deal with it. So, time for the T-55s and Tier-55s to retreat, but ultimately we have managed to push him out of the left-hand side here, and instead Go to Sleep has decided to bring in the M1A1s on the highway, which is actually a pretty smart choice. This dips down, so it actually makes units on the highway pretty hard to attack directly. And you can really use that to your advantage in the center of the map here. So Go to Sleep using that to make sure he contests here. You can see that Go to Sleep's kind of forgotten about trying to get back into here, which is pretty smart, I think, and is trying to help elsewhere. Both the MiG-21s coming in do manage to take down an Apache, but now in dogfighting with F-15s. Not a good time. But at least that one infrared missile from the MiG landing on the F-15 allows the Cub to find the kill. And I would say that was definitely worth it. 2 MiG-21s for an Apache and an Eagle. Yeah, I'll take that any day. I'm going to be shoring up the left-hand side with a couple of these Pack 100mm. And then I'll be focusing on continuing to support Taki here, especially since Go to Sleep is now supporting Guerrilla. Now here, ND has managed to push through quite successfully. My MI8 that was going to be there to try and hold does get shot down by the Stingers that have advanced. Unfortunately, we've been pushed completely out of the town on the right-hand side for the time being, and this here is always really, really difficult to contest, but we're still managing to keep a leader in there, so Grim Guy's doing a good job. So, Ural's arriving to fix things up, kind of draining that pretty quickly due to the fuel consumption of these T-34-85s. But here we go again with another strike. See if we can take out some infantry, shall we? I saw ND moving up a pretty big blob of infantry here. He's at 80 points apiece. Airborne fire team in there for 50 points. If I can kill all of those with the rockets, it's a really, really nice bunch of kills. All those RM-70s, which are still carrying me, despite me losing 2 of them already. But what you can see I've done is, instead of having them near the back where they would be vulnerable to another LAV attack, I've actually moved them kind of closer on the left hand side here, where I know that my front is protected, and it's kind of unlikely that another one's going to be coming all the way around to come and get those. Just going to make sure that I move them after every salvo, because otherwise they're going to take artillery fire pretty quickly. Spreading out the T-34-85s. The reason I'm doing that is just to make sure that if any tanks do try and push in on this left-hand side, we manage to get side shots. But you'll notice that Guerrilla is now opting to move his armor to the right side, and that's because he can continue to utilize maximum range on these tanks. Whereas if he tries to push in on this side, he's kind of potentially just driving into a trap, which I've pretty much set up. You can see the 100mm AT guns being placed sort of here, and I've obviously got these ones over here as well, which are protecting the left. But yeah, these ones are the main ones that would flank any attack that tried to come down this road. MiG-21 coming in at the town, trying to get napalm kill onto some of this infantry, but unfortunately not the most efficient MiG I've ever used. Now, also bringing in more infantry, as you can see, my Wachschützen now arriving. The Wachschützen and the Wachschützen with RPOs. These guys are really good. 10-man squad, 45 points, with a Resolute trait and Shock trait with RPO launchers. Really, really good value. And then these Wachschützen, they're a similar squad with the RPG instead of the RPO. So those are what you're going to be wanting to use to engage infantry at closer ranges. And here I'm just trying to solidify Grim Guy's left flank against Endymion, who's trying to utilize the town to get the better of him and push into our 2-point sector on the backside. So I'm just going to be helping shore up this. I've got plenty of Strela 2Ms here as well, because Endymion's playing with the 82nd, which means there's potential for plenty of helicopters coming in. But if I can just get the Strela 2Ms into the buildings, then they'll be elevated enough to deal with Cobras, Apaches, and so on. So here comes the attack once again from Guerrilla in the open. The M1 Abrams pushing across prime territory for these beasts. The M1A1HA, probably the best tank in the game right now, aside from maybe the T80UD, just because of its armor and firepower. 21 front armor, 22 penetration. Compare that to the T80BVs that Taki's having to use to deal with them. He's only got 17 front armor and 19 penetration. Yes, he does get more health, but that's not too helpful when you're getting penned because your cohesion just gets absolutely obliterated. Now, I did manage to kill one AH, one F on the right-hand side already with the Strela 2Ms, so that worked out quite nicely. Great kill there by the Cubs to take down the Phantom 2, but the Conkers are struggling to get value. There is nothing I can do about it because I'm playing Berliner Gruppierung. The best thing I can do in this situation is maybe get some ATGMs to the right-hand side here that can help cover the open. I can, of course, use my aircraft as well, so the Su-22 is now coming in to try and take advantage. So I'm really hoping that I can get a couple kills. I managed to pop that tank. We're going to be dropping the cluster into the smoke there as well, so I'm hoping that found the kill. These Su-22s were actually doing pretty well, but multiple Eagles on the enemy side is always going to be a real hard time. Two of the Su-22s went down. We did manage to reply with one of the Eagles. Two of the Eagles, in fact, went down. But, yeah, there's 2/3 US which get Eagles, and the 82nd gets Eagles, so a lot of air superiority that we can't really match. Regardless, the Cubs and so on have been doing a fantastic job in helping shoot those down. Furthermore, the Strela 2Ms actually kind of caught out quite a lot of them because I've upbedded them. They actually do have a relatively good amount of accuracy. Another AH-1F going to get taken out. So the Strela 2Ms, a sound investment so far. And the Wachschützen, we're going to continue to advance forwards whilst Go to Sleep and Grilla are going to move back and sort of, I guess, collate all their forces and go again. Regroup, I should say. Alright, Wachschützen. Really good position here. They're even getting the security trait, which increases their optics. So, they're helping spot things. They're doing a lot of damage because they have shock trait at close range, although this isn't close enough to activate shock range. And they've got resolute, which means their cohesion doesn't go down as quickly. Really, really good. Now, MiG-21 came in there, took out a Kiowa, the exceptional optics Kiowa, which is pretty important because it stops the Apache from getting good information onto the T-80s back here. So I noticed that and did that. Also, you might notice on the right-hand side, I've also brought in Wachschützen. So, yeah, the last thing I expected to do with this division was firefight. And firefighting in any strategy game really is where you're the person who's kind of helping the rest of the team sort of fill the gaps and sort of make up for places where things aren't going so well. Which is, again, not something I expected to do with Berliner Gruppierung, which is, I would say, deemed to be, or potentially deemed to be, one of the worst divisions since the nerf. So, yeah. You can see that this division really isn't as bad as I think a lot of people maybe thought it would be, including myself, when I saw the patch notes originally. Because so far, it's been fantastic. The MiG-21 there came across on the right-hand side and took down an Apache again. You just get a lot of units that are very cost-efficient at trading, and that's basically how you just have to play it. And where you don't have to trade, like when it comes to like these Wachschützen, I should be falling them back for sure and getting them fixed up. But no doubt I'm focusing on the right-hand side where I'm helping push back into the city here with my Wachschützen. So I've got the SBW-152Ks sort of sitting at a distance, helping with machine gun fire. And then I've got the Wachschützen with Strelas and the Wachschützen BTR moving up to help deal with enemy aircraft, in the case of the Strelas, but also for the Wachschützen BTR, getting the RPGs on target to take out these Leopards. The Leopard 1A1A1's going down. There's a couple of Gepards in the middle there that need taken care of. Any infantry that comes into these buildings, we get the machine guns on target of. It's pretty wild on the right-hand side right now. whilst also trying to bring in more units to defend this city. Unfortunately, the Wachschützen RPO going down there due to me being spread out all across the map. But the left side, again, still okay. Now, I have had people comment in the past like, oh, you're misallocating resources, blah, 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 by not moving these over elsewhere. I tell you now, if I move all this stuff over to the right-hand side, somebody pushes in there, it goes down in 2 seconds. You've got to have enough there in position. You can't just, like, abandon the position after you've taken it. There are some cases where you can do that, but in most cases you can't. And in this case, this division actually has quite a lot of availability, I found. So we're able to supplement in other areas of the map without having to sacrifice our own defenses. Really nice bombing strike again from the Phantom 2s. Those Phantom 2s are really getting the better of me in this game. And that is going to stop our line of sight onto those infantry, because the SPW 152Ks have absolutely trash optics. I have a Wachschützen on the way to help out. More Wachschützen BTR, more Pioneers with the AGIs, and I've got a couple of Kubs on the way after that bombing strike, because I noticed that Go to Sleep is also paying attention to the entire map. And yes, I may have beaten him on the left-hand side, but he's certainly been a thorn in our side elsewhere as well. The F111F's coming in. Going to be trying to get the MiGs out. Unfortunately, not too much to be done there. So, just going to be falling them back again. Vigilungs, just taking them out. Wachschützen going to be able to just run through them as they're pretty low on health. Meanwhile, over here, looking for more rocket strikes. See, I've got through quite a lot of these supply vehicles. I've been sending them back to the FOB that survived, and then back up. Unfortunately, when this FOB got captured, our team accidentally blew it up instead of capturing it back, which kind of messed up our supply for the game. But so far, so good. We've got 7 minutes left on the clock, and we haven't managed to get through that one entirely, so it's not so bad. I guess it's probably because my BM or my RM70s died, so I haven't been using as many rockets. Okay, MiG-21's still hanging about. Fortunately, I did lose a Kub. You know, that was Taki's Kub going down to the seed. But now we have Gorilla and Go to Sleep kind of pushing in from the side of this sector towards the town, and this is a very vulnerable location right now. But Taki now coming in with the SU-25, looking for some tasty kills. Manages to get a missile on target of the M1A1HA, but not enough time on target to finish it off. F-15. Oh, SU-25's pretty lucky to be alive. Now I'm going to be coming in with my own attacks. The MiG-21's hanging about. We're looking for a couple of hits here onto the M1A1 Abrams. Managed to snipe one of them. A good kill. On the right hand side, Conker's looking to pop some tanks over here. Set up a nice line of defense now though, as I managed to push Hudson out of here. SU-22 with the second missile takes out an M3A1 Bradley. So that was nice. Now the MiG-21's diving in for the AH-1Fs, and the Apaches going to be able to take out the Apache and one of the AH-1F tow Cobras. So that was pretty nice. I was trying to fly the MiG farther to the back side of the map, so I didn't fly all of the mid-range AA, but missile still hit it on the way out. So those aircraft, kind of trading in okay. Not fantastically well, but it's alright. Now, those are people reinforcing the city. You can see both Endymion, Go to Sleep, helping out Hudson here on the right hand side. Go to Sleep also pushing his M1A1HA through onto Grim Guy here. My hold on this town has been utterly annihilated, and it was at this point where I'm starting to get a little bit light on troops, just because I've been fighting in so many areas of the map throughout. But as I said, it was an epic game. And I really do think that this game showed how resilient this division still is. A bit of a cheeky play here by Go to Sleep, moving in the 2 air rifles with Blackhawks, and you can see that even though it looks like I've got a lot of stuff here, still managed to get those troops down on the ground. Wasn't able to shoot down those Blackhawks with how they came in. Cubs here, not going to be hit by the siege because they've actually ran out of ammunition, which was pretty lucky. But the machine guns being placed further back. Anytime these arrow rifles are coming forwards, things are just getting killed off very, very quickly indeed. That being said, we are not winning this game. 895 points for our opponents. They have the +1. This at India being under full control. Unfortunately, it means that they are getting that +1. We have fully controlled Charlie though for the time being, but if they manage to decap that, the +1 goes back in their favour. But things are pretty close. If we could get back into this sector, then you know there's a chance we could win. But there's now only 4 minutes left on the clock, as you can see, and it would require us to get a pretty decent like +3 or +4 in order to overtake in time. Regardless, it's worth a try, and more of my units are now coming in to just solidify the front here and allow my teammates to use their tanks to aggressively push elsewhere. Now I guess in theory I could have tried to like attack move on this left hand side. You definitely see it coming through to the recon helicopters, and a lot of this is infantry. There's nothing too mobile. Maybe I could have put like some infantry into the SPW 70s or something and just try and zoom them up on that left hand side, but it would require the UAZ getting in there in order to capture that. Maybe it would have been worth a try. Anyway, A10 now coming in. Pretty nasty strafing run. Takes that T-80PV down to 1 health, this one down to 3. The A10 does go down without finding a kill, but these T-80s are definitely out of commission for the rest of the game. That HGem also hitting hard. Toe 2 really doing the damage. Rocket artillery being called in on the waves of infantry coming through this town. Apaches flying overhead. Abrams, chaparrals, things just getting crazy intense towards the end of this game. I'm going to have rocket artillery flying in to support the Mudschützen. Imagine you're this squad right now. You've got this man with the Strela trying to have a go at the Apaches. You've got the rockets flying in. Absolutely awesome stuff. The best part about WARNO, just these epic scenes. You've got eagles flying overhead, trying to engage my aircraft on the way out. Absolutely incredible. Everything was going on there. Heavy tank engagements, infantry engagements, artillery, aircraft, just everything. On the right hand side, things are still going on as well, as I'm bringing up my Grenzers with flamethrowers to engage the enemy Jaegers. My BRMs actually end up getting the better of an M2A2 Bradley here, which is kind of funny. Take out 2 of them in the end. Is very good. The Abrams now running riot over here. Taki has set up some nice sort of ambushes. If these Abrams get a little bit over ambitious, the BMP infantry here with their RPGs can get decent side shots in. We now got Chinooks pushing through. Still haven't brought up supply for these. Definitely should have done that sooner. My bad. Yeah, Andy going for his Chinook push at the end. These kind of plays are kind of interesting because they don't matter as much as they used to in, say, like Wargame. In Wargame, this would be absolutely devastating because if it landed, killed the enemy, killed your command, you'd lose control of the sector. That would be awful. But in this case, unless there's a leader in one of those Chinooks, it really doesn't matter. It's not as impactful a play as it would otherwise be, but you can see that the enemies here with their abundance of heavy armor, have managed to crack our front line and get through to our back sector. And with 5 seconds on the clock, managed to decap Hotel, full cap Charlie. And we're even starting to get pushed on the left-hand side as well. You can see that Go to Sleep had more than enough stuff there to prevent me pushing forwards in the end. But after all that, 40 minutes goes by, 10,545 kills to 6,550 losses, and we thought Berliner Gruppierung got nerfed. Honestly, this game, considering the quality of our opponents, I think really showed that this division is really not as bad as probably most people thought looking at the patch notes. And I think, you know, Eugen turned around and said, oh, this maybe got over nerfed, let's bring in some more stuff. And that's great, but honestly, did it need it? Who knows? I think in team games, these sorts of divisions always shine. You know, the ones with overabundance of availability, because you're able to fill the cracks and actually firefight pretty well. But when it comes to maybe 1v1 balancing, if you end up against heavier tanks, you're actually going to kind of struggle maybe with Berliner Gruppierung, but then you do have relatively cost-efficient ways of dealing with heavy tanks. Like the RM70s aren't bad. If you get into a good position on the map early, you can probably get an RM70 or two in. Then again, would you have enough supply to keep them going throughout the game? That is questionable, because in a 1v1 you might not bring a fob, but then fobs recently got buffed, in their price got reduced. So there's all sorts of arguments to be made, really. But fantastic game all round, and honestly, I would say props to Go to Sleep. You know, he kind of got beaten off on the left-hand side, but he still continued to support his team elsewhere. And yeah, I would say that was there was a really good strategy from him, because it helped his team win the game, even if he ended up negative overall. And that's just something that I would point out. Also, watch out for the LAVs, like the labs at the moment, this running around in the back line. That's always really rough. But yeah, the RM70s here doing fantastically well. Quickly scroll through this for some of you guys who are interested. The SU-22s actually paid themselves off with the M1A1 kills quite nicely. The MiG-21 with the napalm, they're actually getting some pretty good kills. Cubs getting kills onto F-15s. SU-22 there with another 2 Abrams kills. We got the MiG-21s shooting down tow Cobras and Kiowa. This is the Kiowa with the Hellfire, so it's pretty good value. And an Apache there as well. Yeah, just making sure I traded efficiently, using cheaper units. Kind of worked out well. That's it for now. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.